owls. So maybe as a segue between us, if you haven't had enough owls, tone here is a little bit different. But, thank you, Ken, for that owl blessing. I feel like I've spent a day and a night in that grove near your house and communed with those gray horned. This is a poem from a sequence that I'm writing about two family elders, and the narrator of these poems is a younger nephew. This one's called A Sucker for Owls. We thought Aunt Tilly's dementia had gone to a new level when she began to tell us about Uncle Max's flying jaunts. It just seemed so unlikely that a man who groaned and shuffled from one piece of furniture to another could defy gravity in such a dramatic and beautiful way. But one day she called to tell us that Uncle Max had clipped a treetop in their neighborhood and ended up in the emergency room with pine needles in his ass. When we arrived at the hospital, the ER doc said, indeed, his injuries were consistent with the incident he described. He had called in a psych consult because it was warranted by hospital protocol, but the doc said at no time did he doubt Uncle Max's sanity. He was calm and lucid, an amiable patient, considering the pain he was in and the location of his injuries. I flew too close to the owl's nest, Uncle Max said. I've always been a sucker for owls. And their nests are hard to see because they value their privacy, as any sensible creature does. Uncle Max had heard the owls and seen their pellets next to the walking path, so he knew the general vicinity. I'll tell you what, Uncle Max said, the ponderosa pine is not a forgiving tree. The reason the wind sings the blues through its branches is because each branch and twig is just as stiff and resolute as a Baptist minister in a gay neighborhood. And I'll tell you one more thing before I go silent for the rest of the day. That ER doctor should take up the violin. Maybe it's just the pain meds talking, but you've never seen such dexterity and precision. He said these things as Aunt Tilly propped him on soft pillows in the middle seat of our minivan. We don't normally keep pillows in the minivan. Aunt Tilly had the foresight to tell us to bring some when she called. Proof, if we needed it, that Aunt Tilly's dementia had not gone to the next level. All the way home from the hospital, Uncle Max stared out the window, while Aunt Tilly regaled us with details of the virulent tropical infections she treated during her time in the Army Nurse Corps. You might think such tales would be fascinating in a gruesome sort of way. I couldn't help but wonder what thoughts were occurring to Uncle Max as he contemplated from the well-padded middle seat of our minivan the depth and breadth and height of our wild suburban mysteries, the signs and wonders lurking behind the facade of blissful domestication. In a celebration of spring by E. Cummings, in just spring, when the world is mud luscious, a little lame balloon man whistles far and wee, and Eddie and Bill come running from marbles and piracies, and it's spring. When the world is puddle wonderful. The strange old balloon man whistles far and wee, and Betty and Isabel come dancing from hopscotch and jump rope, and it's spring. And the goat-footed balloon man whistles far and wee. Always good to have some E. Cummings in there. This is a poem by me. It's a brand new poem, also about spring, kind of. This is fresh out of my notebook, so it's kind of a poem in progress. It's a celebration of spring, yes, but it's about bridges, the bridges between night and day, death and life, winter, spring. It's called Prospect Creek Bridge. The sun peeks over the jagged ridgeline, illuminating a ribcage in the creek below. Free of fur and skin, it no longer houses the organs that pumped air so true and blood so fresh. Where are the slender legs that galloped over these green hills, the hooves that cut such tight pivots in clay and sand, rock and root? How did this elegant frame come to rest beneath our morning crossing? Ginny and I imagined the likely suspect, a cougar beneath a nearby bush, cleaning her paws. Bridges are built to traverse, yet here we stand, mid-span, transfixed by the quiet hour between night and day. Last night's moon fades into the branches of a gnarled oak, who like an exhausted lover stretches an arm over the creek's liquid curves, already dreaming of spring's mighty torrents. I asked Sally Ashton to read this book and give me whatever feedback she had and write a blurb for me, and I'm greatly grateful to her and happy to have her here tonight. She noticed in the very middle of the book these 3 poems, a triptych I call them, of Starbucks poems, in which she described the tone as kvetching, and I like that. I want to write more kvetching poems. This is a Trump-era poem called Inline at Starbucks. Through the speakers, Nora Jones croons, "Come away with me," as though she really means it. Our line isn't budging. We shuffle our feet and check our phones. In the news this morning, the president has deigned to make us great by serving himself first. The crumbs that fall from his table, those are for us. He has cheated more people than most of us will ever meet. The couple behind me in line for coffee cradles their newborn, fussing over the diaper bag. They remember to pack the wipes. Someone mutters, "What a world to bring a child into." The young parents either don't hear or choose to ignore him. The wisdom of youth, such as it is, may lay in such selective attention. After all, there must be a million reasons not to procreate. We each take a step forward in line. The baby coos and wriggles. "What do you have?" asks the barista. "Dark stuff," I reply. "But let's add sweetener." "Real or fake?" she asks. Good question. Do I risk diabetes from the real sugar or cancer from the fake stuff? I figure I have a few more years before tumors and tremors. I think, in fact, there are at least a million good reasons not to procreate. None can stand up to Nora Jones's breathy refrain. And here's also a springtime poem with an unexpectedly, well, with kind of an unexpected turn at the end. These are couplets called Eastertide. Each April, a row of cherry trees blooms along this winding path. Girls of the neighborhood appear in spring dresses, twirling parasols. By May, the delicate blossoms fall at our restless feet. Pink snowflakes sweep in windy swirls, then settle afresh. Gardeners arrive with blowers and burlap bags. Our moment of renewal becomes a matter of memory, meant to carry us through the hot, dry days ahead, not to mention the long, dark evenings of dank imaginings, hunger pangs, friends who lay dying. And now, as Monty Python used to say, for something completely different. We lived in a house for a few years that was infested with recluse spiders and rats. The plumbing was cursed. Every major thing that was supposed to work in the house broke within the first 3 months that we were there. We thought, oh God, let's get out of this place. But actually, it became a home to us for quite a while. So here's a spider poem. There are several spider poems in the book. This one's called Recluse. They had startled me all summer long in the corner of the shower, my sock drawer, the mailbox, with their spiny legs and violins on their brown bellies. Too messy to squash, I trapped them in jars and left them to suffocate. My Jainist friend, Darshika, tells me there's no difference between killing a spider and killing a human. Killing is killing, she says. I replied, but I don't want to live in a spider cave. Yes, but, Darshika says, you don't appreciate the karmic imbalance caused by your bloodlust. Her face registering disgust, she asks, what sort of animal are you? A human animal, I reply, and we are killers, big time. Wherever you look, you see humans engaged in the fine art of killing. Besides, I tell my Jainist friend, I don't see a lot of striving for enlightenment. Most humans seem content with chocolates and television. Really, I say, and this is no joke, I am going to go on killing spiders if they are in my house. But maybe you might say some prayers for me, that I may be spared this indignity. Why not just release them, she asks. Set them free from the jars in the park down near the creek where they might thrive. You still don't understand, I say. I don't want them to thrive. I want them to die. And I want you to stop judging me. You want your cake and to eat it too. Of course, I say. Have you got any cake? I'd like creamy, rich, deep, dark chocolate with fudge frosting, please. How cavalier you are with the lives of creatures who share the planet with us. Not only that, I say, now I'm committing the sin of gluttony in my heart. I won't be able to rest until I have some chocolate cake. Come downtown with me, she says. We will stop at the vegan bakery and I will buy you some cake. Ah, you love me anyway, don't you? I ask. You love me, even though I wreak havoc with the karmic balance. Sort of, she replies. What I'm also doing is preventing you from eating cake made with eggs from the non-vegan baker. Bless your missionary heart, I say, stepping over the beetle crossing the sidewalk ahead of me. Later, sated with cake and tea, I turn back on my own to find that beetle and crush him underfoot. Last poem. These are all kind of suburban observations under the skin, but hopefully the under the skin part helps bring them to life a little bit. In the long tradition of genres of poetry or subgenres, you're probably familiar with nocturnes, a nighttime poem, which often turns to mortality as its subject, and its opposite is called an aubade. An aubade is a morning poem, usually involving the coming of the sun, often involving the parting of two lovers. I'm sorry to say there are no lovers in my aubade, but there is the sun. Around the perimeter of our back patio, I've placed solar lights. All day long, the tiny photovoltaic cells collect and store the sun's energy. At odd times during the lonely night, I awaken and look out the window at gently gleaming bits of sunlight casting shadows around the yard. In the glow, I can just make out the shapes of flowers bowing in their pots, and the grain of graying redwood in the panels of our back fence. By morning, the sun itself awakens every living thing in my sight with color that dazzles and pacifies. Stirring the birds from their nests, the sun prompts a morning symphony of gratitude. Never in my lifetime has the sun failed to perform this tender mercy. Long before I called myself I, the sun garnered my praise. Long after this I disappears into the earth, the birds will sing their poems in my place. Until then, let this small singing of mine join the welcoming choir of each day's dawning.